present and basically gas up how useful Palantir's AI platform is.
Yeah, that stock is surging, isn't it?
It is just got it included in the S&P 500. I mean, I love Alex Karp, so there's that. He's on my Mount Rushmore of CEOs alongside Elon.
What do you like about him? Tell us about it.
Well, I'm a philosophy major. Alex Karp also is a philosophy major. I think he understands those principles well and applies them into a business context. I don't know if you want me to click into the philosophy part, but for the most part, the company itself is extremely impressive. I think they have an understanding of like from the base layer of coding to AI to their values and mission. It has a lot of similarities to Tesla, the mission oriented. And it's another Peter Thiel company, so there's a lot of crossover between investors on X.
What percent of your portfolio is in Tesla versus Palantir versus other?
Oof. I mean, Palantir's just went up about 30%. So I'd say Palantir's around like 15 to 20%, whereas Tesla is about 30. And then the rest would be 55% other.
How do you decide between how to allocate capital to Tesla versus Palantir?
I'm attracted to problems, which is not a good sign. I like I haven't bought Palantir in a while. I was buying in 220. Sorry, at 22 when Druckenmiller started buying. But I was there before a little bit. I find when I'm a big dollar cost averager, so when there is a fall in the stock price and I'm down below, then I really go all in, especially if I have conviction. I've not been buying that much Tesla because I'm up. My average cost for Tesla is around 193. So when we were down that dip to 140, I was buying like a madman. And then I started getting some FOMO when we hit 250, so I bought a little bit more. And then I bought down the dip, and I haven't really bought too much Tesla since then. Sort of been waiting for the 1010 run up, and I don't think I'm going to sell, but I could take some profit. So I said more cash on hand.
You're looking to take more profit from what, Tesla, you said?
Possibly. I mean, it's like obviously my biggest holding by far. So if I take like 5 shares off the table, it's not really crazy. I think for the most part there will be a 1010 run up, which we saw with 88, and then after that there'll be expectations of a timeline, and then executing upon that is really the question. So we're at 230 now. I expect it to continue to rise up, as we saw with 88. I don't think it'll be a like buy the rumor, sell the news event. I think there will be a robotaxi run up, and then after that, there'll be a little bit of a dip, and then robotaxi will get executed upon, and then there's the Optimus question far into the future.
Man, that's a lot of predictions packed in 1 minute. I commend you for making predictions. Not many people make predictions, and that's a very specific prediction. And as you know, some of it's going to be right, some of it's going to be wrong, and then hopefully we'll learn from the parts that are wrong. And so I hear a lot of people expecting $300 per share leading up to 1010. A lot of people are predicting $300 per share leading up to 1010. Is that your expectation too, Uzi? You said surely there's gonna be a run up. You said, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been thinking of a price target up to 1010. I'm assuming. I remember last in August, people were thinking 300, and I was of that camp. At this point, I mean, I'm just setting and forgetting. I'm just holding it. So until we reach a point where it feels a little over exaggerated, And the the real question is execution upon a timeline. And I think the street has these macro fears, but Tesla is the real deal. Just like Palantir, there's not many real deals with AI. Eventually, we might get to the point with 300, maybe in the next 2 weeks, but I don't really think so.
The real deal. Tesla and Palantir are the real deal when it comes to AI, Uzi says. Hustle Town, do you agree? And then I'm going to go back to Uzi.
I don't follow Palantir like that, but he's right about Tesla. I think Tesla will run up going into 1010. I don't think it'll be as fast as 300, but by the end of the year, I think we're going to be flirting with around 315 or so.
Uzi, I'm going to ask you a quick question in a second, but give me 1 second. Bull 2035.
Hey, Uzi, my concern with Palantir's valuation, I had owned it, I sold it in the mid 20s. I saw Karp today, the CEO, say he expects Palantir to 10 times, over the future to be 10 times larger than it is now. How do you justify that valuation given the PE is like 200?
Uzi, did he say 10, Bull 20, did he say 10 times the valuation or 10 times revenue? Which one? Either one of you. Did he say valuation or revenue?
Yaman, he said 10 times the business size, I believe. So I don't think he was talking about valuation. I don't think Karp talks about valuation.
Okay. Well, the way you asked it, it sounded like you were referring to valuation. So he said 10 times the revenue. Okay. Uzi, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, no, I've heard this concern as well with some other money managers I've been chatting around with on X like months ago when it was at 22, and they're saying, oh, it's a feel-back company, it's overvalued. Their forecast that what's priced in for the future is way too high, and yeah, I think that that's definitely a concern if you're looking to get into the game now. And I think the S&P 500 inclusion is going to bring up the price. Because of the excitement and more attention paid to Palantir. I do believe though this company itself though has a moat. They are, which includes um, its vision, its ability to execute. Let me go into the vision. They're very West oriented, and they're in a military context. So they're not going to support any adversaries the United States has. So they're not selling to China. They're only selling to the United States, Europe, I think some parts of Asia that are allied with the United States. But in terms of its moat, um, it works with the intel agencies and it's preferred there. It's integrated with Microsoft now more in the military. When you have the military and the United States as your number one customer, you'll be in a good spot. Part of the question is how much will they be making? And then there's the commercial side. And the commercial side it was accelerating. For the most part, I think they only work with large corporate clients.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Let me ask you a couple. First of all, Bull 2035 has a hand up. Bull 2035, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I put my hand back down, but I agree with everything he's saying about the company and their vision.
Okay. Uzi, what's their revenue right now?
I can go check.
What do you mean you don't know it off the top of your head?
No, I'm not a madman. I don't know every company's revenue off the top of my head.
Okay, but then you believe the CEO when he says it's going to be 10x. So have you done any due diligence to verify that claim?
Well, I just heard it earlier today, watching it on CNBC. So yeah, I was watching your videos in the meantime about Lucid and Rivian and
How can you not know the revenue of a company you're invested in? Bull 2035.
Yeah, ask Bull 2035 about Tesla's revenue.
I'll let Uzi look up the revenue on Palantir, but Uzi mentioned, well, we're going to see a bump because it's Palantir is included in the S&P 500 now. But I don't know, Yaman, if you've been tracking this, but there's actually ETFs now that follow companies kicked out of the S&P because they perform better when they're kicked out, and those that are included apparently don't perform so well.
Okay. Robert.
Hey, how's it going, Yaman?
Good. Is there anybody else who's a Palantir investor on the board right now? Wes,
Yeah, I am.
what do you think of the CEO's comments that the company is going to be 10x worth?
I didn't hear it, but it makes sense to me. You know, what's interesting to me and how Palantir fits in is I've been in the information technology space all of my career, and I've been trying to figure out how to leverage AI in an enterprise environment. And what I'm seeing is a lot of these companies are dabbling with AI, like doing little stuff, but no one's really doing big things with AI that I've seen yet, with the exception of Palantir. So, and I'm, you know, look, there may be some other players out there that are offering some really nice AI solutions for the enterprise, but I haven't seen it. So with that said, they seem poised right now to, you know, they kind of have the green pastures, if you will, ahead of them, and they're in a great spot from what I can tell.
Uzi,
So Q1 2024 revenue of 634 million, a 21% increase year over year. If that helps.
thank you. JC,
Hey, Yaman, how you doing, brother? Yeah, I'll say I do not own the stock in Palantir, but I have a son in the Marine Corps and a son in the United States Navy serving on a nuclear sub. So I am a huge stakeholder in Palantir. God bless them.
Uzi,
I also wanted to mention I was in a space yesterday with Homar's blog, that guy, and he was in a more general Tesla space, which had Bitcoin and Palantir on the topic board, and he's actually now a Palantir investor too, as of the S&P inclusion.
Uzi, you said that Tesla and Palantir are the real deal when it comes to AI. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess they're different applications. You know, obviously Tesla is I don't want to say robotics company, but their application of AI is in a car and hopefully Optimus, which are basically robots. Whereas with Palantir, um, it depends on their client and where they're working there. But I assume with corporate clients, they have this product called AIP Now, where you're integrating the LLMs into your business language. They have something called the ontology. The ontology is like a digital twin of your organization. So they're mapping out, I guess, the terms and like the actions that you could take within your business to basically recreate it in a virtual setting. And then they put a Claude, ChatGPT, etc., sort of into that operating framework that they created, so that you have AI agents sort of streamlining the workflow process.
Okay. Wes, what percent of your portfolio is in Palantir?
Yeah, I've been in Palantir for many, many years. It's my number 3 position, but it's probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4%.
What do you think the company will be worth in 5 years?
I don't know, but 10 times makes sense to me. You know, they're at what, a $3 billion run rate? Is that what Uzi said a moment ago? And I think I saw this morning that their market cap, I forget what it is now. Was it about 30 billion market cap, something like that?
No, it's higher. I think it was at least 50, and now since the run up, it has to be like 60. I'll check.
It's 78. Man, see, this is what it, I don't get it. So you guys are investing in the company. You don't know the market cap. You don't know the revenue. I don't know.
Yeah, it's easy to explain though. You know, I do the
Yeah,
voluntary buy
sure.
and hold. Well,
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like you guys are betting on the jockey, basically. You don't know much about the horse, but you trust the jockey, and you're betting on the jockey, which is fine. You know, that's a good, it's an investment methodology. But if you can't answer any questions about the company, then how are we gonna have a discussion? Wes and Abel 235.
yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with any of that. The one thing about Palantir, though, it's very tricky to understand. I'm not talking about the financial part. I'm talking about what they actually do. The whole key to it, it seems to me, is the ontology layer that Uzi pointed out. And I consider myself very technical. I've been in information technology a long time, and it still takes quite a bit of digging to understand Palantir. And that creates some kind of moat in itself for investors. People are catching on, and many of them don't understand the company, but just understanding the revenue or market cap really has little to do with what Palantir actually does.
Okay. Bull 2035.
Yeah, man, you said exactly why I got out of the stock because I love the jockey. Carp is great. The problem is when you calculate the numbers, I sold in the mid 20s. I couldn't see a way to justify that valuation. I was somewhere in the mid teens. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there's just no way to justify it.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at the company, so I don't know if there's a way to justify it. Obviously, some people do justify it. Some people justify much higher values, and maybe it's true, maybe not. I just can't have a conversation if people don't know the market cap. I mean, Wes is investing in the company. He thought it was $30 billion, and it's actually $78 billion. Can you imagine? Like, if I ask somebody, what do you think is the market cap of Tesla, and they say 200 billion, how am I going to have a conversation with that person? You know, Wes.
I think my last investment in Palantir was in 2019. So if that helps you understand why today I don't know the market cap, it's really no big deal to me.
Well, by staying in the stock, you're making a decision, an implied decision to buy it today. Otherwise, you would have sold it. So there's really a no hold decision. It's either a buy or a sell. Hold is just a continuous buy decision. And there's not much of a difference between selling a stock and shorting it either. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just a company. I know there are people out there who know the company in and out, but anyway. Uzi.
Yeah, I wanted to add that the way that we follow Tesla, there's a whole other part of X that follows Palantir in that level of detail. Um, and I don't know if they have spaces as frequently, or they have, you know, I guess the scale of the community that we have, but there are like extremely dedicated parts of X that are extremely interested in what Carp has to say, what the business is doing, winning the government projects. I mean, part of the problem with Palantir is that they intentionally obscure a lot of their operations because of it as a national security context, like a context. So the government and military parts, they're more obscure. They try to make it hard to understand. Whereas, or they can't, or they don't even tell you. Like they won't tell you about Bin Laden's assassination attempt if they were involved in that. Whereas the commercial part now, Wall Street's trying to get an understanding of what they actually do, and it's easier to learn from the commercial aspect than from the government side, in my opinion.
I know there are people who follow the company very closely. I don't know if they analyze the company as much as the Tesla community analyzes Tesla or the competition or the space. But the two companies are very different from each other anyway. But Tesla is obviously a lot more established. Palantir seems to be creating a market. So, and Tesla's doing that too with Optimus and everything, but it's not the same. They're very different. Uzi?
I think Palantir is older. I think Palantir started in 2001 after 9/11. But I do agree. I think the level of analysis and the community size is way larger for Tesla, and there's a lot of overlap because there's the PayPal mafia, and within that there's Elon Musk, and so I think there's a
Okay,
PhD of fan base.
So I see Palantir was founded May 2003. Okay, so what changed that this company became more kind of front and center in recent years? Is it just the IPO?
Okay, there's the IPO. I think that was in like 2019 or 2020. I wasn't an investor at that point. Carp has always been the same person. Same with Elon. So it's not really just that. I think it's the commercial aspect of the business. And then Yeah, like being a public stock does help, but then there's Anduril, and people love Palmer Luckey. So I think it's the commercial aspect. It's more understandable, and it's accessible to retail investors because it is a public company.
So they went public in October 2020. Okay. Hold on one second. And their revenues were a few $100 million in 2018, slightly higher in 2019, 1 billion in 2020, 1.5 billion in 2021, 50% growth, 1.9 billion in 2022, and slightly higher in 2023. I mean, it's almost like this company was doing something else in the early 2000s, and then something changed. Is that true?
Well, in the early 2000s, they were predominantly consulting for intel agencies. So that's like the CIA, maybe the FBI, but I'm pretty sure it's the CIA. And so that's where they get their money from. But now they're becoming more commercialized.
Okay. Okay. And well, I was going to ask you what you think 2024 revenue is going to be, but you didn't even know 2023 revenue. So you definitely haven't thought about 2024 revenue.
No, I have not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not even going to bother to ask you the margins, right?
Hey, it's the rule of 40. So I think it is a different language there because it's software, and that's the product. So I know that it's like the rule of 40, and I think they're above 40% gross margins. So it's pretty good. I can go confirm.
What's operating margin? Don't look it up. Just say you don't know. And then if a government, so when the government is, puts out a contract, and who is the second competitor versus Palantir?
Well, they're beating out like General Dynamics, Raytheon, that echelon of legacy defense contractors, and they recently won this autonomous tank called Titan. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. But for the most part, that industry is quite confidential, and they don't want people to really understand everything that's going on as a matter of national defense.
Okay, and who is their top commercial competitor?
Oh, that's pretty easy. So there's a couple. There's Snowflake. They hate Google. Microsoft to a degree, but now they partner with Microsoft. And I'm missing one more.
And who is their top commercial customer?
Well, I don't know by numbers. I mean, I could tell you who I've seen on their panels. That they have a big partnership with Lowe's. They're really good with supply chain management. I think that's probably their strength, and sort of cutting through your business into parts.
Okay, so Lowe's is a Palantir customer, and Palantir helps them optimize supply chain. Is that what you said? Ken says Boeing. I don't know which question he was referring to in live chat, but he's welcome to come up and answer questions. Ken says he's been an investor since 2021, and he's been sitting on it since. Yeah.
I don't think it's Boeing. I think it's Omnibus. They help. You see that there's problems with Boeing now because of their supply chain mismanagement and the faulty parts. Whereas with Omnibus, the European competitor to Boeing, they work with them to streamline it.
Bull?
Yeah, when we talk about Tesla, we've got FSD, Optimus, a bunch of other cool things, energy. What are the catalysts for Palantir that are going to make it grow?
No, I'm not interested in that. Uzi, summarize in one sentence why Palantir has a durable competitive advantage.
It's software that works with a community, like with with government-backed contracts.
Okay, Wes.
Yeah, basically they've created this ontology layer that when you insert it into an enterprise organization, the company can instantly see everything that's happening to their company and act on it immediately. Um, that would be my one sentence answer.
Okay, Bull.
My hand's not up.
Yeah, but I'm calling on you. So you're an investor, right?
No, I sold in the 20s. I think it's way overvalued right now.
Okay, Hustletown.
Well, since I don't know much, I just asked Grok too many. So he was like, Palantir revolves around providing advanced data analytics solutions that are highly tailored, secure, and scalable, serving both the public sector needs for security and efficiency and private sector demands for operational optimization and innovation.
Now I understand what they do, but why did they do it better than the second company? And why will they be able to do it better than the second company 5-10 years from now? So Uzi, for example, highlighted one. He said they have government contracts. So long-term contracts, whether it's with government or commercial customers, what have you, can have value, right? They can have value. Another could be maybe they're engineers. They have top talents. But that question is why, like, could that top talent go to another company? I don't know. I don't know. But I tried to get some of these people that Uzi is mentioning about, people who track Palantir closely into the space. I said, come tell us in Tesla Live, answer some questions, and they just haven't. So, and the post I see from them is like I've seen nothing insightful. I'm looking though. Uzi?
I know Chad. I can't pronounce his last name. He's a Palantir employee, kind of the boots on ground for X, that company. He was in the space months ago. I think he wanted to meet Omar, and I think they had a conversation. So maybe following up with Omar on that. But you could have a Palantir employee speak in the space. I'm pretty confident.
Well, but the problem with having employees in this space is that they can't answer any question. We had the same situation many times with Tesla employees.
He can explain the product. He does the demo videos for what AIP is. But yeah, you're right.
Ken says Palantir provides the software to automate Boeing supply chain. They don't make the faulty parts. LOL. Okay, so Boeing was a customer. All right. It's definitely one of the better performing stocks right now, and seen as an AI play, has a very strong following from retail investors. $78 billion market cap, PE ratio of 200 right now. Just kind of looking at it briefly. I think they're about to hit it, or they have hit it all-time high, and at $35 per share. So we'll see. NVIDIA is also up. All right. Robert, do you own any Palantir?
I do not. Just Tesla.
Yeah, Robert, we're getting a lot of static from your side. So I'm going to move you down. JC, how are you?
Hey, Yaman, how you doing? Sorry about that.
I'm good. How is FSD doing for you lately?
It's doing great. It's doing great. Still no disengagements of any kind, critical or non-critical. I did have my first intervention yesterday. We had a storm come through Houston, and there was one intersection where the traffic lights, I don't know how it happened, but they actually got moved down a lane. And so it was an intersection where there's two left turning lanes, two straightaway lanes, and then one right turning lane. Well, everything got shifted to the right. So the FSD got confused when the left turning light came on. It's like, wait a second, we're going straight. So it kind of screwed it up. And I think if I'd have had nobody behind me, or if there would have been a lead car in front of me, it would have been fine. But obviously, that's not what we're trying to do here. We want it to be able to do it on its own. But it was just taking too long to figure it out, and was just kind of stuck there. And so I hit the accelerator. So yeah, technically, my first intervention since I got this new Model 3 weeks ago. So doing really well.
Okay, good. Sorry, can you remind me, do you have a Cybertruck reservation? I'm surprised you don't own a Cybertruck.
I do have a Cybertruck reservation. I'm actually waiting on the insurance settlement to get done on my previous Tesla, the Model S.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
How long ago was your accident?
It was 2 months ago. In fact, almost 2 months ago today.
And you still didn't get the insurance money 2 months later.
Yes, because I was hit. So Tesla is obviously having to go through the guilty parties. I shouldn't say guilt, but whatever, the other party's insurance, Geico, and so it just takes longer. Unfortunately, I mean, the good news is you don't, I get taken care of, obviously, in that situation. The bad news is it takes a lot longer than when you go through your own insurance company.
Okay. All right, let's talk some Tesla. What are you guys looking forward to as long-term Tesla investors? I think everybody on the board is. What are you guys looking forward to as a, let's say, what do you think will lead to the next leg up in Tesla's valuation? JC, and then Hustletown.
Yeah, definitely. In the intermediate term, it's FSD continuing to evolve and get to unsupervised. I think that's a point of demarcation whenever we can get to, I'm not talking about robo-taxi either. I'm talking, once you can just get in your Tesla and go for a 45-minute commute from your suburban home in Kingwood, Texas, all the way into downtown Houston, which is usually a 45-minute soul sucking commute on East Tex Freeway. And you just dial out. You either sleep or you know, do work or handle calls, and you're not having to worry about it. I think that is going to have a huge uptake in FSD.
Hustletown.
Mine's a little less fun, I'd imagine. I'm an energy guy. So I remember when I first started investing, automotive revenues were 95% of Tesla's, profit engine, right? So now that number has been, it's more than 90%. I can't wait. And I think most of the stock market can't wait until it's like 85%. Automotive is only 75%. And that's when I think it's going to start to realize, the stock market's going to realize this is more than just an automotive company.
Uzi.
I think JC crushed it unsupervised. That's a major milestone. The first robo-taxi in operation, and I think before the first robo-taxi, there'll be a pilot city chosen. So those are 3 milestones that I'm looking forward to outside of 1010.
So can you repeat the other 2, FSD unsupervised, and what else?
First pilot city that they choose to, let FSD just go and start the network.
Okay. And Wessex.
Yeah, I want to see a quicker speed to market on FSD. FSD is the next leg up. I agree with everybody else on energy and Optimus and everything, but I want to see an improvement in speed to market. They're really not meeting their own expectations right now and how quickly they're rolling out FSD. And so I hope to see a change in that.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday quite extensively, actually. And it's a little unclear why the pace of wide releases slowed down. Wes?
Yeah, I thought you did a good job yesterday with that, and I really appreciate everybody's dialogue yesterday because in reality, if you don't look at the point release and you just look at like 12.1, 12.2, et cetera, we've only had, the non-social media folks have only had one release in the last 12 months, and that's 12.3. And so even though the early adopters are getting it, we're really not getting anything. And it's interesting to me when you look at, I have a Cybertruck as well. And I paid for FSD, and everybody knows that it's not out yet. But for Elon to say, or for the company to say, including Elon a couple times now, that it's not a priority to put FSD in a Cybertruck, my question is, as a customer, why, why is this not a higher priority? If you're taking money from people, why wouldn't you deliver on the product? So I'm trying to understand what's happening here with FSD and the company and the way they're working with customers. So, anyways, great dialogue yesterday on this topic.
Thank you, Uzi.
I think also once Tesla starts releasing miles to critical disengagement data, that will be another huge milestone. It sort of goes into our grid conversation on the weekly space we had. On top of that, I think within that grid, reaching 100,000 miles will be critical.
Bo.
Yeah, I think the market just isn't sure about what's going on right now with FSD. So I think we need third-party validation, whether it be from a municipality to say you can do it, whether it be from an insurance company to say, well, discount, whether it be from a legacy auto manufacturer who Elon's hinted to, who may be interested in licensing it. We need third-party validation.
Hustle time question for you. You said that you said that for the market to value Tesla as a, or see it beyond automotive company, automotive revenues have to be, 75%, let's say. So a growing portion from the non-automotive parts. What makes you think that the market today is valuing Tesla as an auto company?
Well, I think they're doing a little bit more than that. There is obviously some of it baked into the future of what Tesla could be, but I don't think it's not nearly enough. As they're disrupting several different industries as energy and automotive, and then going to disrupt the entire rideshare market. Disrupt it, not destroy it, but they're going to be a heavy-handed player in many, many industries, and I just don't think the market is seeing that.
Yeah, but what makes you think that they're not seeing that right now? Because the fact is, any other company that's producing less than 2 million vehicles per year is valued at around $50-60 billion. So what makes you think that Tesla, having 10x the valuation, is not being valued as something more than an auto company?
Well, that's true. They are worth more than every automotive company combined, rolled into one, and rightfully so because of the electrified movement. They are the pace, they are the leader. If you look at China, look at Europe, that's where the market is going to go. And America will follow suit no matter how hard they kick and scream. So I think it is priced accurately, and there is a little bit more into it than just an automotive company, but I think it's just not nearly enough. Like, I get the evaluation is way more than any other automotive company, so thus maybe it should be considered that it's more than an automotive company by the valuation. They're over $700 billion company right now, and what is that if it's not just more than an automotive company? But it's still not. If it were factoring it in, this stock would be at like 1.5 trillion right now, considering the moats that they have in all these other different areas. And just because they haven't executed on these timelines yet, there's no other company on the planet that's even close to doing what they're trying to do.
How did you get to 1.5 trillion number?
I just kind of pulled that out of thin air. There's just a estimation of where I kind of think it should be at 2024 if they were valuing the energy sector like they should, or if they're evaluating the autonomous driving, using the vision only based approach, considering that they have over 6 million vehicles in North America that already have this hardware on it. And at the flip of a switch, they can, once, feature complete, more than likely realize, let's just say 40% of what an overnight revenue boost would look like. So it just seems like they're like, oh, they still just make cars. They've had this lull in electric vehicles here in the United States. Europe is kind of stagnant right now. It just feels like they're being tentative instead of looking forward. Like if you just discount those cash flows back to what it would look like maybe in 2035, being uber conservative, to me, it just feels like the company should be
Okay.
well over 300.
Robert?
Audio check. Is it good now? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your audio is fine. It's just that we were getting a lot of noise in the background.
Okay. I'm in a dead quiet room right now. Should be fine now, hopefully.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So 3 milestones that I'm looking forward to is the unsupervised pilot. I really don't care where it happens, whether it's the US, China, Europe, just that it happens in some small town or city somewhere. Number 2, I think another milestone is once it is unsupervised and Tesla exceeds the number of cumulative unsupervised miles as compared to Waymo, which they have around 20 million, and Tesla FSD has around 1.3 billion. Once that milestone is reached, I think that will light the market on fire. And then finally, faster rollouts. I'd say a cadence of once a month. In the product management world, that's like once every 2 sprints. With these additional training clusters coming online, that's what I would look forward to, and hope that moves the needle.
Well, why do you guys think just the demonstration of a pilot program is going to lead to a surging valuation? So a couple of people said that. So let's hear from them.
Psychologically, that's a huge, that's something that every layman can understand. Anyone, even if they're not following Tesla, you tell them that every time I speak to someone about autonomous vehicles, it seems like everyone I know, they know about Waymo. They just know it. It's all over the place. People from, not just people in California, people in Arizona, I speak to, of course, because it's located there, but people seem to be very familiar with that. And they don't even know that Teslas can drive basically supervised, but they don't realize it. I just took a couple weeks back. My car was in the body shop, and I went there and I picked it up, and I said to the lead mechanic, "Hey, do you know Teslas can drive themselves?" He goes, "Oh, I heard they drive, yeah, kind of on the highways." I said, "No, they can do local rides. You want to go for a ride?" He said, "Sure." So I took him in the car, and we spent 15 minutes driving around, swerving around, going around double parked cars, stopping for pedestrians, dogs, bicyclists, e-bikes, and he was just like amazed. And then he asked me, "Can it parallel park?" I said, "Well, yeah, that's easy." But he wanted to see it. I showed him parallel parking. Yeah.
So when I asked why you think demonstration of a pilot program will lead to a surging valuation, you said you point to Waymo. Waymo's valuation today, I just Googled it. Okay. So these are estimates because it's not publicly traded, obviously. But it says, I'm seeing this number, $30 billion. That's the latest figure. And it says far lower than 175 billion implied a few years ago. Latest valuation of Waymo stands at approximately $30 billion, a far cry from its estimated 175 billion valuation a few years ago. This is as of 2023, some article. I don't know if this is correct, but it makes sense, right? Because everything kind of went up and then most things came down quite a bit after 2020, 2021. So if your reasoning why a pilot program will lead to a surging value is pointing to Waymo, and it looks like Waymo is worth only a few $10 billion, does that change your opinion? Because Tesla is already way more than that.
No, it does not, because people don't know the numbers, Yaman. All people know is the name. And they know that Waymo drives itself. They see all the images online with nobody behind the wheel. And when they see that happening to Tesla at a significant number, then I think it just psychologically will change their minds. I think you overestimate yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And who was the other person who said, was it you, a pilot program?
I was saying the city the pilot program is chosen in.
Okay, so why do you think that's going to be a catalyst for the company? Because a pilot program, it's not going to generate any revenues. It's not going to generate any profits. It's only a perception thing. And I agree, it might be important. I'm not saying it's not going to be important. But there's a difference between saying there's a probability Like it's possible versus it will be an important milestone?
I think you hit on the perception point. That's the first half. I think the other half would be something along the lines of it's a experiment in a sample set state, and so you can extrapolate based off that on scale. I mean, this is a milestone too, right? It's not necessarily material to the company's finances.
Yeah. JC, you mentioned FSD unsupervised as a catalyst that you're looking into. When do you think that's going to happen at scale? Let's say, a million Teslas running FSD unsupervised. When do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, well, you caught me at a jaded period of my life. I'm still stuck on 12.36. So you're probably asking the wrong guy, unfortunately. Hustletown, maybe he may give you a more optimistic. No, but in all seriousness, when we saw that timetable come up from the AI group, it sounds like they're going to change 12.6 to version 13. Was I mistaken in thinking that version 13 is basically going to be the quote unquote unsupervised? And so when that starts rolling out, obviously, Yaman, as slowly, this is my own view. Omar may say something totally different, but you can tell they've been rolling out 12.5 very slowly. That's just an objective fact. I would sense that version 13 or 12.6 or whatever they're going to call it probably is going to roll out even slower than that. So I would say it would be optimistic to say we'd have unsupervised by earliest Q4 2025, but probably more like early 2026. That's again, if I had 12.5 right now, I may give you 6 more months. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, JC says early 2026 for FSD unsupervised.
Yeah, and you said on like a million. So you're not just saying like it be out there with Omar and AI Driver and Hustletown and a handful of other OGs. You're talking about like where I have it and everybody, the majority of the folks that are in this space have it at that point.
Basically where 12.3.6 is today. Okay,
yeah,
so majority of the fleet has 12.3.6. And my definition of wide release is majority of the eligible vehicles has it.
Yeah, I'd say 2026, early 2026.
Okay. Would anybody on the board like to take earlier than early 2026? Okay. For those of you who are not seeing the reactions, one way to see the reactions is to watch it on YouTube. For those of you who are not seeing the reactions, Wessex gave the thumbs down. Hustletown?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Q4 2025. I think it'll be before the turn of the year on 2026.
Yeah, that's for Hustletown, not for us.
Wow. You guys are, okay. How about Bull?
I'm actually less optimistic. I'm looking into 26 at this point. I just haven't seen the progress the last 3 to 6 months.
Okay, Uzi?
I'm looking for the Google Sheet from our conversation because I don't want to. I mean, I'm pretty confident with what we were talking about then. I don't want to change
that's what the Google Sheet does. It makes people think twice because otherwise you're contradicting yourself. It looks like Hustletown watched our one-on-one interview, and he hasn't. Okay, wait, did you? You just gave me a thumbs up and a thumbs up. Were you trying to throw me off?
I just got big thumbs, man.
He fat fingered you
on the phone. It's just a fat finger. But
yeah,
I watched it.
I do see most members have watched it. I do see most members have watched it. So that's good. It's going to go public tomorrow. Going to go public tomorrow by the end of the day. All right. Interesting. Wessex, when do you think it's going to happen?
Well, if we're talking at scale, I think mid 2026 is approximately when it's going to happen. I think we're going to start generating some form of revenue though late 2025.
Okay. Robert, you're the FSD expert. When do you think FSD unsupervised is going to happen?
I give it till mid 2025.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
that those training clusters coming online, I think are going to make a huge difference.
Okay, but huge is a relative term.
That's true. A big enough. In other words, it will allow them to accelerate the cadence of their training, so they can make those changes quicker, add more parameters quicker, see the feedback quicker, get it out quicker, and just accelerate the advancement. Right now, it's got some real sore spots, and I think they're struggling with those spots, not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't have the compute power to do it.
Okay. So JC said that he defined FSD unsupervised, and I agree, where you can go to sleep or you can do other things. So not like, it gives you a 10-second heads up before you have to take over. Like you can learn, like you can actually operate driverlessly. Okay, so that's my understanding of FSD unsupervised, that it can operate without someone conscious in the driver's seat. Okay. So what I'm about to say, when I said it on my Patreon, people unsubscribed. I don't think it's going to happen before 2030.
2030?
Yeah. I don't think it's on this side of 2030.
Why is that?
Because I think the training compute needed is orders of magnitude more than what Tesla has today. So I don't think just because Texas coming online is going to make as big of a difference as needed to get to FSC unsupervised. I think FSC supervised will get very, very good after Gigatex comes online. But I think that to get to FSC unsupervised, and I think the primary point of difference where I disagree with most bulls is how good does it have to be to get the FSC unsupervised? And I think you need 1,000,000 miles between critical disengagements. And by critical, I mean, if you don't disengage, you're going to have a serious accident. Okay. Not like a bumper, not like a, you hit a curb when you're going 5 miles an hour. I don't mean that. Okay. I mean, if you don't disengage, you're going to, serious damage to the car, other car, or you hit a pedestrian, or, you go through a red light, that kind of disengagement. And I think it has to be 1,000,000.
Everywhere?
Yeah. I mean, to have 1,000,000 Teslas on FSD unsupervised, it has to be basically nationwide, right?
You can be unsupervised in a geographical region.
Yeah, but you can't have 1,000,000.
Is 1,000,000 a number based on global number of miles or US only?
1,000,000 Teslas globally, anywhere.
1,000,000 Teslas or 1,000,000 miles? I thought you said 1,000,000 miles between critical disengagement.
Yeah, so those are two different things. We're talking about. So you have to mute yourself when you're not talking, because otherwise we get static. Thank you. So definition of wide release for the purpose of discussion is 1,000,000 Teslas on FSD unsupervised. Okay. But to get to that level of reliability, I believe, this is my personal opinion, I know most bulls don't agree with this, Tesla will have to get to 1,000,000 miles or more between serious critical disengagements. So those are two different figures, even though they both correspond to 1,000,000. Okay. JC.
Yeah, Yami, I actually agree and disagree with you. I agree with you on your 1,000,000 mile amount. You are absolutely right, because we're emotional creatures, and especially Americans, we will demand that something be 10 times safer than what is on the road today, even though we accept that we lose 45,000 people on the roads a year. Like literally during the time of this space, 150 people will die on our roads from manual drivers, and we just accept it. But we're not going to accept unsupervised until it's like 10 to 20x. So I actually agree with you on that. I do think that is the biggest bugaboo out there, is that we're going to have to get to this high threshold. Where I disagree with you, Yaman, is I think that timetable is going to come down because of one thing I mentioned a couple of days ago.
I think JC
on
got
your-
a phone call. Do you guys hear him?
Oh, y'all can't hear me?
Yes, I can.
You can hear me?
You can't hear him? Why the fuck
We-
did I just?
We can hear him.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
okay, I'll wrap
He's clear.
You can hear me? Okay. So what I mentioned, where I disagree with you, Yaman, and something I mentioned a couple of days ago on the timetable, is FSD in China. And let me say one thing that's just a reality. It may be a little bit politically incorrect to say, but it is just a reality, is that once you're able to get FSD into China, the Chinese government just does not look at risk and safety the same way we do, Young, right? Where we demand that it be just superhuman and 10 to 20 times better. The Chinese want to win the 21st century, period. That's it. And the minute that they perceive that this could be a strategic, you know, leadership potential for them, they're going to go hard in the paint like Shaq going to the rim on FSD. I promise you that. And so what's going to happen is this compute restraint you think we have, that's because it's only been done in North America and some parts of Europe where we're just sclerotic. The minute you start implementing that in China, Yaman, I think not just the compute capability, but just the data is going to go up exponentially. So I actually agree. Somebody disagreed with me on China on the call the other, and I actually agree with their disagreement.
Okay, thank you. All right, so TKU in the audience proposed a coffee bet, and I typed out the coffee while Jason was talking, and I pinned it at the top. I'm going to respond to Jason in a second. We now have a couple more speakers now. Wave and Dallas is up here. Now please reply to the bet at the top with your view. Why do you agree with which side? Do you take the yes side? Do you take the no side? And why? Reply to the tweet at the top. FSD unsupervised on 1 million Teslas before 2030. Okay. So JC said China, when China allows FSD, the number of miles will grow very fast. The data that Tesla gets, it grows very fast, and the pace of development will increase. JC, is that a good summary?
Exactly.
Okay. Although I agree with you, I don't think Tesla is limited by data. I think path to FSD unsupervised is limited by training compute. So it doesn't address my main concern. Your argument does not address my point. Okay, let's hear from Wave.
Hey, Yaman. Had a question around the same topic for 1010. Do you think, or anyone on the board think, that Tesla will introduce a supervised robotaxi in a way to pilot and prove out over time this way their app and infrastructure by having a supervised FSD robotaxi?
Yeah, they might. They might. I mean, Waymo did it, Cruise did it. They went through the same stages. But I mean, how is that different from what Tesla's doing today? You essentially have supervised robotaxis.
It's hugely different because you're really proving out and piloting the Uber model. And that's an area where they need to pilot, get all the approvals, pilot, and having a supervised opens it up where people do the revenue sharing model, managing, temporarily with, maybe it will take a year, maybe in your model it will take till 2030 to fully remove
Yeah,
the
so
driver.
I mean, basically, what you're saying is that Tesla will start a ride-sharing app, and the rides that happen on Uber today will happen. Some of them will happen on the Tesla app. Okay, but like,
Precisely.
it's not that big of a, it's not that big of a change. But does anyone in the world doubt that Tesla can create an app?
I don't think it's about creating the app. It's more about how long it takes to get to a competency level with the app, spool up drivers, and all the new things they're going to learn and reinvent possibly what Uber is doing.
Okay, let's hear from Uzi and then Dallas.
Well, for the conversation before about training compute, I wanted to add Dojo's. Dojo 2's training chips will be out by the end of 2025. So that might accelerate FSD at that point. If training is the real constraint, I mean, there's an argument that validation is. But for the conversation about robotaxi, I agree with Wave for the most part in terms of setting up distribution of the robotaxi network. Getting people set up on the app. I mean, it depends if they use the existing Tesla app or they create a new one. I would think that using the existing one would already have a larger install base. And then, yeah, it's not going to be the biggest deal when you're if compared to what it is right now with maybe Uber drivers using FSD. But I assume now you're rolling out the hardware itself into the real world and testing it before you are going to have it unsupervised. So it's a natural part of the transition to completely unsupervised taxi network.
Okay, so Uzi said that Dojo, the next Dojo chip, will make a difference. Is that fair summary of your first point? Okay. Now the question is, why do you think the fact that Tesla Dojo team hasn't been able to keep up with NVIDIA GPUs will change in the future?
Well, I don't know if they will ever be able to keep up with NVIDIA. I am an NVIDIA investor. Their annualized release schedule is extremely hard to keep up with anyone else in the industry. I do understand that Dojo would be more specific to Tesla. Obviously, it's customized for that, and its creation won't just help FSD; it will help Optimus's training as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get back to you because we have other hands real quick. So let's go to Dallas. He's been waiting for a while. Dallas, go ahead.
Yeah, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say under 2030 for sure. I mean, if our timeline still stands that we see something on the unsupervised front next year, and let's say worst case even the year after that, that gives you plenty of time to scale up to 1 million.
Okay, I see everybody agreeing with TechAU. Everybody agreeing, so disagreeing with me on the tweet at the top. Please reply to the tweet at the top and let us know which side you agree with and your reasoning. Edward.
Hey, Amin, how are you doing? I was just I was thinking about when it comes to the 1010. I think the biggest surprise is they're going to launch the unsupervised or supervised, robotaxi network. I think the app is already ready to go. I think that they're going to put people on, but I think you're going to have to qualify for it. So it's going to be a slow rollout, just like they would anything. But I think by the end of the year, I think there will be people driving, like Uber driving, in that capacity.
If you're watching this on YouTube, please let us know what you think in the comments below the video. Please like the video and leave a comment below the video. Yesterday's video got a record number of comments. Let's see if we can beat that. Thank you very much, everybody. It really helps push the channel out to new viewers. And that's the limiting factor right now. Dallas.
I totally agree. I mean, I think we've touched on this. I think there's going to be a couple cities that get a very cool pilot program launched after this event. Austin, Texas, conveniently for you, Yaman, is probably the most likely, maybe San Francisco. And I think there's going to be supervised, drivers that will be operating the FSD platform for ride sharing, and it's going to
Okay,
serve
but,
as
but
a
hold
demo.
on. The topic right now is FSD unsupervised. Okay. And the reason why we talked about this is because JC and others mentioned FSD unsupervised as a critical milestone for a step change in the company's intrinsic value. So
Okay.
that's the discussion. FSD unsupervised. And Uzi said Tesla developing the next version, or I guess that's version 3, right, Uzi, of Dojo chip will make a difference. So Uzi, sorry, go ahead.
That's Dojo 2.
I think they have Dojo 2 now, I found. But anyway, so let's call it next version. So let's see. When do you think Tesla's Dojo training compute will exceed let me see. Let's pull up Tesla's last investor day. Investor relations. Give me 1 second. I think they said this in the last shareholder deck. Do you guys get a lot of background noise right now?
No.
Okay, good.
YouTube sounds good too, Yaman.
Thank you. Thank you, Hasseltown. I'm really enjoying this discussion. I like it sometimes when it's a smaller group and we can basically turn the hands of time back to when it was the long form and dig deeper into these things. All right, so it's not in the Q2 update. Interesting. Q1 update for training compute. It's not on there either. Huh. I thought it was. Let's see. Q3 2024. Did they take it out? Or am I looking at something else? This is supposed to be investigations. Dallas?
Yeah, can I field the question while you're looking
Yeah.
at
Go ahead.
that? What is the current kind of quote unquote timeline, if you will, or anything that's been mentioned from Elon on unsupervised
End of next
deployment?
year. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
Doesn't matter. They don't know either. They don't know. Nobody knows. It's being done for the first time. They're trying to get there as fast as possible. Elon has an optimism bias. He also wants to rally the troops. And, but I mean, think of it this way. If it was a year out, 2 years out, they would be starting production of the robotaxi today. And they're not. So they're going to unveil the vehicle. Omar says it's at least 18 months away. It's like, listen to what Omar says specifically. Okay. Yeah. In yesterday's episode, the day before, he stressed at least 18 months away production. Okay. And sometimes people hear that and they're like, oh, it's 18 months away. No, he said at least 18 months away. So, oh, look, it's actually in Q2 2023, the graph that Tesla shared. So they haven't shared it for a year. Did they put it up in Q3? Let's see. I have to go back several quarters. Yeah, it's not in Q3 either. Or maybe they tweeted out later on. But anyway, so the Uzi. So actually, let me ask you. Since you made the point, their Dojo is going to make a difference. Let's put you on the spot again. This is put Uzi on the spot date. Robert just ran away because he knew I was going to come to him next. This is Uzi. You know I do this because you actually do make predictions, right? If I ask machine to do something like this, he would exit the space because he doesn't know.
I lost my connection. I'm back. I didn't run away.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So Uzi, what do you think Tesla's guidance was?
In what year? 2023.
Yeah, 2024, I guess. They show October 2024.
You know what? I'm gonna say I don't know. Character growth.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. 100 exaflops. 100 exaflops by October 24 was the guidance that Tesla shared for in the Q2 2023 update. So a year ago. Okay. 100 exaflops, and this is at the bottom of it. It says internal projection, which means like don't take this seriously, of Dojo compute power. Okay, so it's Dojo only, internal projection. Source Tesla estimates, like they threw in every disclaimer they can possibly throw in here. 100 exaflops by October 2024. Do they have 100 exaflops today? I mean, we're like around the corner for October 2024. No, they don't. So, and this is for Dojo only. Yeah. So when do you think, Uzi, let's see, when do you think Tesla will get to 100 exaflops?
What are we at now?
I should add this to my, who knows? We don't know. I should add this to my my spreadsheet, Google Sheet. Actually, I'm going to do that. Good. See, this is why I love these discussions, because we're moving forward, hopefully, together. Mostly spinning our wheels, but at least we know what milestones to watch, what the facts are. I think at least our understanding of facts increased in the last hour. I hope. Alexander.
Yeah, how much have Tesla spent on compute so far?
Billions. It's spending about $1 billion a quarter right now. And that, I believe that's only training compute. So if you want to include inference compute, which is the computer that goes into every single car, we have 6 million cars. They cost at least $500 to $1,000 per unit. Let's say 500. Depends on what you include in there, but several billions of dollars. I would estimate the amount of inference and training compute that Tesla spent to date is $10 billion. Alexander?
Yeah, if you take all the cars sold since 2017 and you put them all on FSD subscription, that would be about 10 billion a year in revenue.
Yeah. Hustletown.
I mean, we did go through a replacement of our head of dojo, right? Like, I think it's Peter Bannon right now. So that replacement is probably an indicator that that internal number got kind of put on hold, right?
Exactly. And then Pete Bannon obviously is an incredible person. I mean, his presentation on Autonomy Day in 2019 was really good. I mean, that guy knows his stuff, obviously, right? No bullshit, just a straight shooter, deep thinker, extremely experienced, solid person. From what I can tell, based on limited information. Okay. But he's got a lot of, like, he's not responsible for a lot of different things. And they threw Dojo in there. And I took that news about, how long ago was that? Was it a year ago? I took that news as, well, the current approach wasn't working. And for now, it's on ice, is the way I took it. But recent comments from Elon indicates that they are still committed to developing Dojo in a major way. So it's just maybe delayed. I don't know. But that's why I think we should start talking about this 100 exaflops as maybe a combined figure of NVIDIA GPUs, Tesla Dojo, and maybe they'll start buying AMD stuff. Who knows? Or Apple went with Google TPUs, for example. Uzi?
Yeah, the NVIDIA Dojo question is the last bit of cope I wanted to add to this. I don't know if there's an answer if the B200s and Dojo are compatible, but if they are, then keep buying NVIDIA chips for all I care while you develop in-house compute.
Okay, by compatible, I think you meant comparable.
No, I mean compatible. I mean, can they both be used in a training context?
Why wouldn't they be able? Why wouldn't they have? I think we've kind of covered already in previous episodes that you can have different training compute. Like you can have different hardware in a training compute cluster. So you can have NVIDIA GPUs, you can have AMD GPUs, you can have Tesla's Dojo, you can have Tesla's inference computer, which I think Elon said is going to be part of Giga Texas facility. The important figure is that we can focus on is 100 exaflops, like the total compute power. Whether you want to have it in terms of A100s, H100s, H200s, or the new Blackwell, or Tesla Dojo, Tesla Inference Computer, AMD GPUs, doesn't really matter. The total compute power is maybe we can focus on. Dallas?
Yeah, we touched on this a while ago, but kind of a different aspect of the compute on the inference side. When do you see them starting to aggregate the inference compute that's parked in parking garages, that's plugged in overnight, that's just sitting idly by? I mean, I know we discussed that as a possibility.
It's a long time out. Long time out. It's not a very efficient way of doing it. So I think that may play a role when Optimus is in households. Wessex.
Yeah, something that fascinates me, I think about all the time, and I'm suggesting or maybe proposing that this is part of our future discussions, is what about the competition and where they are and their ability to generate revenue with their own solution? And what I find interesting about it, you have people like Gary Black, who, I respect. I'm not trying to make any disrespectful points, but he doesn't understand, it seems, AI and FSD, but he's convinced that the competition's about a year or two behind us. My question to Carrie would be, well, how are they going to do that? What we've learned with Tesla is when we handwrote the code in C and C++, we really couldn't get there because there's just too many outliers, if you will, for handwriting code. So we switched to AI not too long ago. And you look at the investment Tesla's making with all the chips. My question is who, more of a, just something to think about, who else is possibly investing in AI like Tesla? And no one is. China has a problem getting to these chips, even though they have 1,000 EV companies. They probably have 50 to 100 trying to solve autonomy. But I assume they're hand coding this, or maybe they have their own, they can get chips, but not as directly as we can. And so what does the competitive landscape look like? And why are they going to get there? The only company I can think of that has a really good chance of competing with us is Waymo, simply because they're Google and they have their own transformers. And they have a pocketbook, if you will, to make the investment. But outside of that, I don't see it. So any other discussion on that, or if anybody has any points on that, I'd like to know.
Yeah, sure. We have a packed speaker board. We now have Yoda as well. Very strong speaker board. Great discussion. I highly appreciate everyone being here. Even in live chat, people are sharing their opinions. I understand the view I pinned at the top is very controversial. Okay. I lost patrons because of when I said this. Like people literally left me feedback and said, this is a bare view, and they canceled their patron because of this. Okay. And I want to make it clear, this is wide adoption of FSD unsupervised / robotaxis. I believe is going to be on the other side of 2030, not on this side. But if you want to share your view, reply to the tweet pinned at the top, or leave a comment below the YouTube video, which helps push it out to new viewers. So I really appreciate that. Okay, don't hold back. I don't care if it's positive, negative feedback. Make it as elaborate as possible. Use colorful language. I don't care. I read every single reply, every single comment below the video, and I reply to every single one of them. Okay. Now, Wessex asked, who is the competition? But I think that we need to focus that discussion on a very granular level. So competition for FSD supervised is different from competition for FSD unsupervised, is different from first robotaxis, volume robotaxis, which geography, what time period. So I think that's we need to have a high definition on that discussion. For example, I bet Wessex didn't know what I'm about to say. This morning I learned that Baidu and Geely is introducing a sedan called 07 that will incorporate Baidu's L4 system that is, quote, perception based. Now, I don't know what that means exactly, if it's cameras only, but it seems to me that it's not going to have LiDAR. Okay, but this is something we should look into because I learned about this about half hour before I jumped here. Baidu Geely introducing a sedan using Baidu's L4 system, perception based, able to be purchased by customers. So this is different from Waymo. And L4 was specifically mentioned. And the price is between $30,000 and $42,000. Okay. So if this is real, this is a material piece of news that we need to look into. Alexander.
For competition, if you believe that hardware 3 and 4 can run robotaxi level software, then there is no competition because Tesla has so many units compared to anyone else.
Okay, but inherent in your statement, you're assuming that many units is necessary.
Yeah, well, to make money on a robotaxi network, obviously units are important.
Yeah. I mean, Waymo has only 700 cars. So how many cars do you really need for a robotaxi network is open to debate. All right. Yoda, welcome.
Hello, guys.
How are you feeling?
Well, it's my 20th anniversary with Mrs. Yoda, so I'm just waiting to take the orders of what I'm supposed to get her.
All right. With any ideas from the speaker board? What should Yoda get, Miss Yoda? Uzi?
Go get some flowers.
This is 20th. You trying to get the guy divorced?
I'm
We're 6.
I'm just over 20, so I don't know.
Hands down, the best product to buy right now is called 8 Sleep. Everyone write it down. It's a thing that goes on your bed and it runs water over your bed and you can change the temperatures. Women love it. You can get into a nice, cozy, warm bed. I've got a buddy of mine that's got multiple Rolls Royces, mega rich. It's the best product he bought last year and it's absolutely amazing. Definitely get it, Yoda.
All right. Looks like West 6 got a sponsorship. JC?
Yeah, I'm just imagining that. I agree with the 8 Sleep, but what is that going to say? Like, babe, you've been nagging me so much. Here's an 8 Sleep so you can get more sleep.
Wow. They conquered 2 of my speakers. Who is this company?
Definitely diamonds, though. Diamonds and jewelry. That'll shut her up.
I've already outsmarted all of you. You know, the 20th anniversary is two 10s or 2 X's, and so I've decided to get her a 2-year X.com Premium Plus subscription. That's 2 X's.
And that's the secret to a successful marriage that lasts 20 years.
And his next purchase will be a new sofa off of Amazon.
All right. Just get her a Tesla. Call it a day. Throw money at the problem. Does she drive a Tesla, Yoda?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. Yoda, what do you think about the bet at the top?
FSD unsupervised on 1 million Teslas before 2030? That's yes, of course.
Okay, so Omar just joined as a co-host. That means if you're blocked by Omar, you just got kicked out of the space. Congratulations. And the reason is because we have a very strong speaker board right now. I didn't want to kick anybody off, honestly. So Omar is the co-host now. If you're blocked by Omar, you got kicked off. So try not to get blocked by Omar. That's the moral of the story. Omar, welcome.
Hey, and I do have a form on my website where you can apply to be unblocked.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I mean, just, he made it easy for you. Fill out the form, apologize. I actually looked at the form once and said something like, "Are you sorry?"
Well, you actually don't have to apologize. It's just asking if you are sorry. If you're not sorry, you're okay to say no, and your request may still be approved.
It says, "Are you sorry?" And then it says something like, so what are the other questions, Omar? It says something
like, what did you do? Or like something like that. I forgot. But
Hey, Omar,
just a few questions.
is it like getting into the Naval Academy? Do I need my congressman to attach a signed affidavit?
It's a pretty high acceptance rate. Pretty much just if you fill out the application, you're pretty much guaranteed to get unblocked. Just because it's like, okay, if they really cared that much that they were willing to fill out the form, then I think it's fine. But if they don't, then they probably are better off. Sometimes it's just better off for two people to not talk to each other and take a little time out.
yeah,
So
that's
more
true.
like state
Exactly.
college.
Yeah, I do that too sometimes. I kind of just block people after 24 hours or after a few minutes. Depends on how many times they got blocked. But the longest is like a week or something. And well, Omar, yeah. So if anybody sees, the only reason why you haven't been a co-host is because of the block thing. How many people do you have blocked?
Let's see.
I was the
Probably
victim.
thousands.
Yeah, so that's the problem. You see, that's the
Mhm.
problem.
Yeah, and I don't really mind not being co-host or anything. Let's see. I have 1724. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, I had a situation where I had, Tesla short sellers kind of attacking me, and they would like make up all these rumors. They'd say like, oh, he's a convicted felon, he smokes crystal meth, all this stuff. And they like found some other guy who like was named Omar Kazi who like got arrested with like crystal meth and like had a gun or something. And they're like, oh, this is like the guy. And they would just comment under my posts and stuff and um just like make up all this crazy stuff. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to like focus on what we're actually talking about here. These people are just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Twitter is not for the faint of heart. And as people are like, sometimes people are like, oh, why do you block people? I'm like, dude, you have 10 followers. You don't fucking understand how it feels to get bombarded by hundreds of people every single post. But I actually don't have anyone blocked right now. But so so that the 1,700 people that Omar Block can join the space if they wish to, I need one speaker to move themselves down. We're gonna talk about FSD robotaxis. So if FSD robotaxis are not, there you go. Somebody did already. Perfect. Give me 1 second. Omar is still speaker. Okay, good. Oh no, never mind. So I don't have a way to get people from co-host to speaker. They have to go down to listener mode and that come up as speaker, which is another thing that I think X needs to work on. All right, Omar, welcome back again. All right,
Hey.
so we put at the top a post. KKU challenged me and said, I do think FSD unsupervised will go on 1 million Teslas anywhere in the world, 1 million Teslas before 2030. Who do you think is going to win this bet? And if you're on YouTube, please leave a comment below the video let me know, when do you think FSD unsupervised will be on 1 million Teslas? Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Tech AU will win this one easily. It'll probably happen before 2030.
Okay, Yoda?
Why would it take that long? I guess if you're saying no, what was your rationale?
Training compute limitations. I think we're going to need orders of magnitude more training compute.
Okay, but you agree that once it's possible on one vehicle, it's just going to get rolled out to a large portion of the fleet, which there are millions. So assuming that it's going to work unsupervised, will work on hardware 3.
No, hold on. I don't agree. If you can't do it on one vehicle, it's going to get rolled out to a million immediately. I mean, what FSD version has had that situation? Most of the fleet right now is on 12.3.6.
Well, so first off, I think this idea that, you heard somewhere that, okay, well, you need 10x training compute to half the miles per intervention. There's no such law. It's just kind of a rule of thumb. It's an idea, right? That there's a relationship between compute and model performance. So there is a relationship between compute and model performance. Elon has said it's not quite that much, but there is some truth there. You do need to massively build out training compute. But every year the chips get more powerful. So for example, the new Blackwells are 4 times as powerful. So you're adding in more chips, you're buying another 100,000, but now it's like adding 400,000. So you do need a lot more compute, but also Moore's law does give you a lot of compute. And then, you have kind of an existence proof in Waymo. You can say, look, these guys are driving around without a driver. So whatever level of training compute is required, we possess that already, clearly, to do it at least in a limited fashion. And as the amount of training compute we have continues to expand, I think you'll be able to do it in a generalized fashion.
Okay. Yoda? We're 6.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, how much can we cheat? And I learned this through Omar, how Waymo is dropping people off near their destination, but not at their destination. I think there's a lot of wiggle room between now and 2030. We're going to have to monetize this well before 2030 in volume. And I think it's those little things that will allow us to do that.
Okay. Can someone on YouTube please let me know how the audio is? Oh, there you go. Hasseltan, thank you very much. All right. Yoda, what do you think about what Omar said?
I don't want to get blocked, so I agree with everything he said, including his music, jazz music.
Oh man, I like his music. I don't know why they hate you. I like whenever I watch his videos, I watch it with the music. It's so funny. So what I heard from Omar is, even though we are going to need a lot more training compute, Omar, do you agree that we're going to need orders of magnitude more? So at least 100x than what Tesla is today.
We're no longer constrained by training compute. The
Then
amount
why
of
are they building Gigafactory facility?
well, because they are putting up more training compute, but it's no longer a hard constraint, right? The amount of compute that's available just increases every year. Moore's law is an incredible thing. Every year they can fit more and more transistors into a smaller chip. They figure out how to make these chips better and better. So if you say, "Oh, we're going to need orders of magnitude more training compute," it sounds so scary, but then you look at like the moon, we went to the moon with like this little tiny computer. My Apple Watch has more like thousands of times more compute than what they had in the moon, a capsule, right? So the amount of compute we have available is increasing like crazy. It has been for decades, and this trend shows no signs of stopping. So not only are we building out a lot more training nodes, right? We've gone from, 8,000 to 16,000 to 32,000 to now 100,000. And not only are we doing that, but the chips themselves are getting more powerful. So the H200s are twice as powerful as the H100s. The B100s are four times more powerful. Then they've got another chip that's coming after that. So the amount of compute is increasing like crazy. That's one thing that we don't really have to worry about. And this is just a method that just automatically gets better as you throw more compute at it. So all you got to do is just keep buying the chips, plugging them in, and the performance continues to improve.
I agree with everything you said. Where we disagree is how much training compute we're going to need. I think it's going to be orders of magnitude, and I think Tesla will have to spend tens of billions of dollars to build out training compute to get to FSD unsupervised, which we defined it as, by the way, before you joined, we defined as being able to go to sleep in the car.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. They're gonna continue to build out massive amounts of training compute to train FSD and Optimus. Seems like a certainty at this point. So, I mean, I think everybody is a little bit too bearish on FSD because it's taken so long to get this new version wide. This new version truly is 10 times better, or more. Actually, maybe even 30 times better than 12.36 in terms of miles per intervention. But because people haven't seen it, they haven't had a chance to try it, uh, they're starting to feel a little more bearish. This is going to be another um, FSD 11 to 12 moment that's happening whenever it goes out. I want to say this week, but honestly, it's hard to know when it's actually going to go out. Hands free, 30 times better performance on the driving model, and actually smart summon, the ability to go driverless. I think once this is out on the majority of cars, we're going to have a reset of expectations in terms of where they actually are with their current compute cluster before we even bring on the next 100,000 units.
Edward, then Alexander, then Yoda.
Yeah, I think with the training compute thing, like Elon said, basically they were going to spend $8 billion this year. And they're not compute restrained based on the robo-taxi network. It had nothing to do with Optimus. I think Optimus might be where, Yaman, you're 100% right, because they're going to need so many different. You got to think about it this way: the robot is going to do so many different things. The car just accelerates, brakes, turn left, turn right. That's pretty simple if you really think about it. But the robot's going to do so many different things that's where they're going to need massive training compute.
Alexander, then Yoda.
Yeah, how long could the Tesla keep it up? Like, if they're gonna like double the compute all the time, that's gonna be really expensive, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be at least tens of billions of dollars, if not more than $100 billion spent on GPUs, Dojo, and other. Yoda?
Yeah, another way to look at this question, this bet that you have is the way I look at it is the million cars is a moot point because of the fact that once it's capable for one car, you can download that onto a million cars. So to me, that isn't the part that takes the time. So I guess do you see it that way, or and if so, then that means let's say it takes up to 2029 or 2030 to reach unsupervised. That's essentially to me
Yeah,
what
so
you're claiming.
from a technology perspective, I agree with you. But you can't fit a million Teslas into Los Angeles or San Francisco. So you're going to need regulatory approval from multiple jurisdictions. And even though there's going to be one or two jurisdictions, like let's say Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin, that are more kind of open to robotaxis to get to 1 million, where it starts impacting your like meaningfully contributing to your bottom line, you're gonna work yourself into some of the jurisdictions that may not be as amenable to a robotaxi service. That's why it's important, the million figure. Anybody else? Robert.
By 2030, I would expect that we have general autonomy that's safer than a human globally.
Okay. Robert.
What about China? I noticed your last comment was focused strictly on the U.S. I think China's regulatory bodies are going to be as difficult as the U.S. Are you considering that as well in the million Teslas number?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. Yeah, it's a global figure. The bet above is global. So if China is, but to this date they haven't been, right? Like they haven't been more open to FSD supervised than US. I think Tesla earlier this year had a bit of a push to get FSD rolled out in China, but it seems that seems to have gotten pushed out to 2025 now. So I don't know. Yoda?
I guess another way to look at it is, do you believe in the progress of AGI? That AGI is 6 years is a long time. So when do you think AGI will be achieved? If you believe that AGI will be achieved before 2030, when part of what AGI can do is to drive.
Yeah, I don't really have a view on when we're going to get to AGI.
Yeah, I think Elon, obviously, with his aggressive timelines, he says it's like 3 years, like or like 2026, 27.
I think he said next
So
year, and then he kind of rolled it back, and he said
yeah,
maybe not next year. But I'm not sure if
yeah,
he was joking or not when he rolled it back. So who knows?
yeah. I think it's just a sort of a proxy to say that if AGI is progressing that quickly, how can a very specific task like autonomous driving be so far lagging behind? Of course, there's the hardware part and all that, but in a way, Tesla's solving that, right? By having the inference computers already designed, they're in the cars.
Okay, Alexander.
Yeah, like 1 million wouldn't be that many percent of the fleet, to be honest. I mean, if they figure it out, it would be much more, I guess.
So Alexander, who do you think is going to win the tweet at the top, pinned at the top?
The person that thinks it's gonna happen by 2030,
When do you think it's going to happen?
before
Just for
2030.
the so 2029. I mean, just for the record, Alexander appears to have more of a pessimism bias rather optimism bias. That's why I'm asking him, Alexander, when do you think FSD unsupervised will be on 1 million vehicles around the world that there's no driver in the driver's seat, or maybe sleeping, or doing something else?
If regulatory wouldn't be an issue, probably 28 maybe.
Yoda?
Speaking of Mrs. Yoda, this year is our 20th anniversary, and I'm probably gonna take her to dinner with FSD driving us there, where I'm just pulling out the driveway and doing a little bit of the last few meters of driving. I have a very hard time thinking that in 2 years, on our 22nd anniversary, that I'll be doing any driving at all. Now, in 4 years, uh, assuming we're still together, uh, we would have probably upgraded our car to hardware 4, and I would be very surprised if she and I are still doing any driving at all. I, I don't think this is impossible.
Yeah, anything is possible, but the bet above is about what's likely. Alexander.
John, tell me, do you think they will manage to get Robotaxi on hardware 3 and 4?
Eventually. I think Tesla will have to get there with the latest hardware first. So whether it's hardware 4 or hardware 5 or hardware 6, and then work its way back to previous hardware if needed with time. Alexander?
Yeah, but then you don't think they will solve Robotaxi until 2030 at all?
What do you mean?
Yeah, but I mean, a million cars, like that's nothing in 2030 on hardware 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah. Uzi?
Well, I'd love to see Tesla Yoda on that weekly conversation. See him fill out that Google sheet. Get everyone a little excited about the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I do need to kind of make that more often, like once a week or so. We have a number of people. Paul Ryan.
So listening to this conversation, something that I've been thinking about is that, Elon said that once the full self-driving goes live, it'll be the biggest asset increase ever. And I have a feeling like a lot of people with the hardware 3 are going to upgrade to hardware 4 because of the amount of increase in value you're going to get from your car. So I'm betting that maybe next year we may see possibly the point where everyone's buying and upgrading to hardware 4, and it's possible that 1 million cars could happen by the end of next year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're in line then with JC, who said early 2026, Wes, who said mid 2026. I believe someone later said, was it Hustletown? I think he said end of 2025. So Paul Ryan is in the same bucket as Hustletown. So, most people are around, I think Yoda is around 2026. Even Alexander said 2028, and he is a pessimism bias. So, maybe I'm wrong, And like I said earlier, before Omar joined, when I said this on my Patreon, I lost patrons for saying this. They left feedback saying this is a bear view. I don't want to support this, and he just canceled. I'm like, okay, whatever. Uzi.
On that comment for the refresh cycle, I'm curious if the previous speaker thinks it's people getting their hardware 3 cars upgraded or they're buying new cars outright.
Alexander.
Yeah, you better buy a coffee shop because you'll be serving gallons, man.
You're that confident that this is going to happen before 2030?
Yes.
I mean, listen, I actually thought this was going to happen in 2022, and I lost a bunch of coffee bets betting that it was going to happen by 2022. It didn't, and it would be hilarious if I actually lost bets on the other side of the bet as well. That would be pretty fucking amazing.
I could agree with you, but then we both be wrong, and that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. Paul Ryan?
Yeah, to clarify, I believe that a lot of people are going to actually start buying used Teslas. I mean, I'm not thinking it's going to affect the new sales, but they're going to start buying a lot of used Teslas and actually upgrading them. And they're going to have the same capabilities. I mean, minus a few things because of the amount of compute that it has. But I bet that by next year that all these hardware 3 cars are going to they're going to go up in price and value. And we're going to see a very crazy, perhaps increase in profit from Tesla because of this.
Let me know in a reply to the tweet at the top or in a comment below the YouTube video what you think. When do you think FSD unsupervised will be on, mass adopted on 1 million Teslas around the world? So it's a low take rate. By then, it's probably going to be like 10% of the fleet or lower. So let me know in what year and why you think so. Yoda, and I have a question for Omar.
Yeah, If I were you, I would find that edit button, and I'm gonna give you an out. You can edit it to 1 million Teslas, but basically make it so that it's uh, owner-owned Teslas added to the rideshare network so that the owners are making money. Now, if it's 1 million of those owners, I feel like it's much more plausible that we achieve that by 2030.
1 million of what Teslas? Can you say that last part?
Basically, the 1 million applies to owner-owned Teslas added to the rideshare app, making money for the
Okay.
owners.
So Omar yesterday or the day before said the vehicle that Tesla unveils on 1010 is not going to be produced until at least 18 months. Omar, when do you think 1 million of them will be produced?
I have no idea. I mean, right now they're making 1 million vehicles roughly every 6 months.
Okay. So we don't know when the purpose-built robotaxi will be mass produced. It's still TBD. They're going to unveil it, but Tesla unveiled Cybertruck in 2019, and there still aren't 1 million of them on the roads. And end of 2024. It may not happen in 2025. So, we'll see. Roadster unveiled, Semi unveiled, still not on the roads. It took years to get Model 3 to 1 million. So it depends. I think it's limited by the software development. So I don't think Tesla even knows when they're going to have 1 million purpose-built robotaxis on the roads. Like I said, my crux of my argument, crux of my limitation is training compute. I think that Tesla will need orders of magnitude more training compute than what it has today. I think Omar agrees with that, but he believes Tesla will be able to get there sooner than what I think. And in the Q2 2023 update, Tesla shared the graph. Internal projection for Dojo compute reaching 100 exaflops by October 2024. October 2024 is next month, and then not even close to that, obviously. So these things change. The person that was in charge then got fired, I think. And now Pete Bannon is running it, who has a lot on his plate. So who knows, right? They're still buying NVIDIA GPUs. I think, well, from what I understand, they're going to use inference computer in the Giga Texas facility. So what does that say about Dojo? I don't know. Paul, Ryan, then Alexander.
So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Dojo because that's the one thing we're all forgetting that's going to significantly change the game. The amount of
We're not forgetting this. You just joined. We've been talking for more than an hour.
Fair enough.
Alexander, go ahead.
Yeah, if you let rideshare be a part of the current fleet, that will obviously affect the how many robotaxis you will sell, right? Dedicated robotaxis.
Sorry, can you say it again?
If you have the current fleet added to rideshare, then that will affect the demand of the dedicated robotaxi.
Yeah. Yes, TBD. Okay. I had a question for Omar, but I forget. Oh, Omar, have you heard about this news that I learned about half hour before I jumped here? Baidu, Geely, introducing a sedan called 07 or 07, using Baidu's perception-based L4 system. It's going to have perception-based. I don't know what that means exactly, whether it's going to have LiDAR or not. Probably not. L4 was mentioned. Baidu system priced in a car $30,000 to $42,000. Have you heard about this?
I've heard a lot of announcements like this over the years. They usually don't amount to anything. I've followed Baidu's service closely, and they're often still using human drivers. They call that level 4. They only go to certain Baidu Apollo Go stops. So It's far behind Waymo in terms of technical capability.
Now, the way this one differs from previous announcements, the reason why this caught my eye is because it was specified as people will be able to buy this car.
They've had cars for sale before, I think. Yeah.
With L4?
I mean, this what they're calling that, like, they don't even have an L4 service that's a real L4 service, even in the cars that they don't own. So if they're offering something similar in a car you can buy, I mean, they've had a more limited sort of Baidu ADAS that they've included in other Chinese EVs before for quite some time.
Okay, we have a few minutes to go. So a couple of news items. Man, there's a lot on the list we didn't get the chance to talk to, but I recommend people listen to it from the beginning. We had a really good discussion on FSD Unsupervised about the bet at the top of your screens. I recommend people listen from the beginning after we're done here. We talked a little bit about Palantir as well. Tomorrow, let's kind of talk. Let me set the stage for tomorrow then. Tomorrow, I want to talk about NVIDIA stock being near all-time highs. Intel down 60% year to date. I want to understand a little bit. Like, let's talk about Intel versus NVIDIA a little bit tomorrow. Congratulations to SpaceX for executing the first commercial spacewalk. Amazing. It was seen all over the world today. What an incredible achievement. Congratulations to the SpaceX team for the first commercial spacewalk. Other news, Tesla reduced the wrap options for the Cybertruck from 11 to 3. Lithium prices back down to 2019. Cobalt prices lower even than that. Gold prices hit a record. Lots of changes on macroeconomic news. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Today, we focused on FSD Unsupervised. China stocks, lowest since January 2019. Doesn't appear Chinese economy is catching any sort of traction here, which is interesting because Tesla China is actually doing well. So in versus the backdrop that's deteriorating, macro backdrop that's deteriorating in China. So that's especially important. All right. Omar, any other comments?
Yeah, it looks like OpenAI has released a new series of models, which is interesting. And, I think I mean, the thing for me on FSD supervised is right now, how I get around is I summon my car out of the parking spot, it pulls out driverlessly, I get in the car, and it drives me to my destination without an intervention, and then it parks itself. And it parks better than I could. It does a lot of the driving better than I could. We're talking about, okay, are they going to have FSD supervised by 2030? I'm already not driving. And, it makes mistakes. I have to intervene. So I could get in the back seat. And, you've seen like Dan O'Dowd try and fool the driver monitoring system and get in the back seat before. And it can do drives already without a person in the driver's seat. The only issue is it would crash too much. It would crash more than a human. So how long does it really take them to get the rate of interventions, the rate of crashes down below a human? That is really the $1 million question. Everything else is really there already. It's really just that getting the software reliable enough. And honestly, it's going to take a little longer than we'd like. It's going to take a little longer than we hope for. People who have been pessimistic have been right before. This is very, very challenging. And if you want to be realistic, it's probably safe to assume it's going to take a little longer. Oftentimes when you have people unsubscribing to you for saying something, it's because there was a little bit of truth there. And the truth can sometimes hurt, which is that it's not just going to be this magic thing overnight or everybody would be doing it. It's really, really hard. But what comforts me is that what we've already got is, almost kind of like a robotaxi. It's a crappy robotaxi, but it's already able to do most of my driving. They're adding a bunch of compute. I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I'm ready for this to be very challenging and take a long time.
I thank you. Finflexity.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys talked about this today, but I just got access to the OpenAI's new model. So, if anyone has any questions they would like to test out, be sure to comment them down below and I'll share the response.
What is the model called?
O1.
How in the world did you get access to it?
I have API access to the developer tools.
They released it today, just now before this
That's
space.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uzi sent me something in the DMs.
They said
And it
it's
looks
like a
much better.
PhD level now.
Yeah, it looks much better than 4.0.
Yeah, basically it just spends more time thinking before it answers you. It doesn't just spit out whatever the first thing is that comes to its mind.
Is this supposed to be the strawberry thing?
Yes, I think so.
Wow. Well, that's amazing, isn't it? That's incredible.
Yeah,
So we're
can't
going to
wait to
talk
play
about
with
this.
it.
Yeah, let's play with it. Let's read about it. Let's see what people say. What's the initial take, Omar? Have you seen anything? And Finflexity, what's your initial take?
I've barely done any reading on it. I'm going to do it right after this.
I'm also about to just hop on my laptop right now and try it out for the first time.
Okay. Well, tomorrow we're going to talk about OpenAI's new model, NVIDIA stock, Intel stock, Tesla. We're going to continue and anything else that comes from now to then. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will chat with you tomorrow. Take care.